Hey, y'all. Today's live is all about the 4 big live video scripting mistakes. We are going to cover so much today. I'm going to give everyone 60 seconds to join, and then we're going to jump right in and get started. So we will be right back. All right, let's jump in and talk through these 4 big live video scripting mistakes. This is a highly requested video. So many of my students and clients struggle with the scripting process because they feel like sometimes it takes them so much time and they end up writing so much stuff, and then it doesn't end up feeling like a great script. Or they end up sitting there spending so much time and they just end up with a ton of white space, a blank page, and are just not getting enough done. So these 4 things are a product of working with over 2,000 students, helping them with their videos in the Video Skills Lab, that membership, one-to-one in my group programs. And again, these are the most common things that I see. So first off, if you don't know me, my name is Alex Carmelli. I live in Austin, Texas with my 2 doggos and my partner. And like I said, for the last few years, I have been helping online entrepreneurs get on video and sell their offers with ease and confidence. And if this content today is helpful for you, I'm also going to be talking to you guys about this new video series Kickstarter where you can work with me one-to-one. I've never done a one-to-one offer like this for this price point either. I'm going to talk to y'all about this Kickstarter more at the end, and you can find out more in the description. So like I said, we're live right now. Let me know you're here live. Let me know that you are watching. Say hey in the comments. I always love to have a little bit of interaction, and we're going to just jump in and get started. So let's start going through these 4 things. So mistake number 1 that I see with the scripting process is writing these huge, hard to read blocks of text, which makes it really, really difficult for you when you are going live to sort of keep track of the comments and to stay on track with your videos and the actual content. And it makes the whole thing really, really difficult because you want to be able to like have a conversation with the audience. You want to be able to do your content and just have a good time with it. And if you're trying to read word for word, it just makes it really, really difficult. So I would try to avoid these big blocks of text, right? And here's how you're able to do that. So if you've been in my audience for some time, if you've been following for some time, you know that I've got my highly converting video script right here, this format, this formula. And why this is so helpful is because if you're using this correctly, you should be thinking about the script. I'm using that word script because you know what it means, but really your video should be more of a flow. And instead of having these long sentences, we should just have these bullet points where you are able to kind of just bullet and have an idea of exactly what you need to say and have this script up when you're live. So let me undo this for you guys. So let's do an example of kind of what a traditional kind of scripting would look like versus a flow. So traditional scripting would be like, okay, you've got a blank page. Let's say I opened a new document, right? And I started to just write like long paragraphs and no structure at all to kind of anything. Long, dense 3 to 4 paragraphs with no structure, right? Versus a flow, every single section in this, in this template is labeled, right? And I have a process where I'm going through. So I know I got to start out with my hook. Then I got to have my crazy not to say promise, and then my authority and my call to action and my engaging question, right? So I've got this in my head of like exactly how I want to go through the flow of this. And then I can just bullet within, right? So here I am able to, I'll get rid of that. That just kind of describes exactly what is included. But I would just bullet, point 1, point 2, point 3. And I would just have like maybe like a sentence or a few words that describe it. And again, this can be really intimidating for you if you feel like you don't have that confidence yet to to speak well with just bullet points. But what I would say is if you're at that point, you should be practicing things legitimately out loud. So when I was brand new and I was really nervous on video, I would walk on the treadmill and literally out loud practice these bullet points and just improve them every single time. Because I'm telling you, if you've got these long sentences that you're trying to read, people are going to see that you're reading. It's going to be distracting, and keeping track of the comments is just too much. So that is the first thing that I would suggest. Don't try to overcompensate for a lack of communication skill, like a communication issue, by writing these long sentences. Work on those communication skills, work on honing your ideas and the craft that you've got and the way that you articulate it. And then you're gonna have so much more of an easier time actually with the scripting. Okay, that is number 1. So give me a yes in the comments if this is making sense so far. If you have any questions. I see some people are here live. I see Kelly's here. Hey, Kelly. All right. We're going to move on to number 2. And this is a big one. And I need your participation for this one too, because I have kind of some options that I would love to hear your feedback on. So mistake number 2 is having no clear through line or crazy not to stay promise. So first off, what is this crazy not to stay promise? So if we are looking at the script, right? After the hook, which is that, first minute where you're engaging your audience, setting the tone for what this video is about, making sure they want to stop and watch, right? The crazy not to stay promise is sharing exactly what your audience is going to learn in a 1 sentence, 2 sentences max, right? And so what that means is you should be able to articulate exactly what you're covering and why they should stay until that end of the video. If you are having trouble keeping people until the end of the video, we need to look at this crazy not to stay promise and make sure it's clear, make sure it's compelling, and make sure it's, something your audience really, really wants. So that's that crazy not to stay promise. And I'm going to give some examples of the crazy not to stay promise in a minute. But again, why do we have it? We just sort of talked about this, but one is retention. Like if people don't know what the heck your video is about, why are they staying until the end? They're not staying until the end. They're not wasting 15 minutes, 20 minutes of their time sticking around for a video that they're just like, I don't know, I just got time to kill. I don't know that many people that just have time to waste. Number 2 is clarity and focus for you, right? So if your crazy not to stay promise is like this big, long, vague promise, it's going to be really hard to write your script. So you need to be able to communicate this in 1 sentence, 2 sentences max. Even that's too much. Like really, I'm going to stick by this 1 sentence, exactly what you are teaching in this video. So let me give a few kind of like little made up examples that I gave. And there's going to be 2 options for each category, right? So in each option, we have a really good crazy not to stay promise and a really not so great one. So let's do the first one. The first topic or the first thing is veganism. So the first one is, the first crazy not to stay promise, what you're telling people why they should stay until the end is because we're just going to talk about being vegan, right? That's A. That's why people should stay until the end. Or B, 3 conversations to have with your family if they don't support your vegan lifestyle. Which one? If you're pretend you're a vegan, if you are, Cool, but even better. Which one are you more likely to stay until the end for? Is it A, let's talk about being vegan, or B, like 3 conversations to have with your family? And when we think about the key things, when we're writing these promises, right, we want to be really, really specific, right? So let's talk about being vegan. Like, there's a million things we could talk about. We could talk about, the health aspect of it, like what your blood work numbers look like. We could talk about how it affects your physical activity. We could talk about, nutrition. We could talk about mental health. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just so vague. Like, it doesn't actually tell us anything. Number 2, and I'll make this a bit bigger for y'all. Another thing we want to, that I really like in a good crazy not to say promise is some sort of tangible number. So here I'm like, okay, here's 3 conversations. It could be 1 conversation. It could be 1 tweak. It could be 5 shifts. Like, something that, okay, like people are like, okay, I'm only staying for this amount of things. I know what to look for next, versus they have no idea how long you're going to be going on for, right? Like I've told you in this video, we're only going to talk about 4 live video mistakes. I'm not going to make you sit here and listen to everything that I figured out over the last 4 years working with 2,000 people, right? That's not what I'm going to do. Okay. And then the last key thing for, these crazy not to say promises are, you want to just make sure it's not like the same old type of thing. And your title sounds a little bit more creative. It's not, been there, done that kind of thing. So if you're in the vegan industry and you just hear people all the time talking about having conversations with their family, like, okay, maybe you want to tweak it up a little bit and give a different perspective on this, but make sure it's something a little bit fresh and adding to a conversation, not having the same conversation over and over and over again. Okay, let me take a pause. Are you guys with me so far? You can give me a yes, and we're going to vote on the first one. Which one do you prefer? I mean, is it A or B? You can put it in the comments. I think it's pretty obvious that B is the better crazy not to say promise for the reasons that I just mentioned, but you can let me know if you think differently. Okay, example 2 is about lifting. Let's say like weightlifting, right? So here are the 2 promises. Number 1, if you stay to the end of the video, you're going to learn the number 1 most overlooked exercise to do to build your glutes as a newbie. Or number 2, strength training 101. If you stay to the end, you'll learn strength training 101. Which one are you more likely to hang out until? I love A. You can let me know which one you like more. I love A because it's got that tangible number. We're just talking about one thing. It's so specific. We're not covering all things weight training. We're just covering, building your glutes. And we're specifically talking to newbies, right? So this is such a great one. And I see Wendy's here as well. Love it. Jade's here too saying A. I totally agree. Let's do one more. So this next one is course creation. Let's say you teach about course creation. So A is making money online with an online course. And B is 5 tweaks to make your course sales page stand out this week to see a bump in sales. Right? So I think I actually see topic A all the time. I think it's every time I see it, I'm like, this is so bad. Like, it's just so overdone and it's not specific. But B, I like because there's so much to the course creation process. Like if you've ever created a course, you know how much goes into it, right? And so we're not trying to teach everything about making money online. We're just trying to help you do a couple tweaks to your sales page to see that bump in sales, right? So I love that it has that tangible number. I love how specific the win is. And it's not like the same old, like whenever I see, making money online with an online course, like I'm like, I roll, okay, like how many people are teaching this? I've seen it over and over and over again. But like if I did see, okay, here, I'm going to help you make a couple tweaks to your sales page, that would get my attention more so because now you're helping me solve something specific. And, I could kind of see myself getting help with that. So Let me know if this is clicking for you, if you're understanding why this crazy not to stay promise is so important. And really the bottom line with this is that if you do not have a one line or very clear promise that you can articulate, like this level of like concise, right, that I just went through with you guys, you are not ready to write that script. So more often than not, when I have my students, when I'm auditing their scripts, when I am working with them and they're struggling, I'm like, in one sentence, tell me what I can expect if I stay until the video, if I stay until the end of the video. And usually it's somebody like, and again, I say this with love, not hate, but usually it takes there's some rambling and like long explanations. And it's like, you do not have clarity and focus on what you are actually trying to talk about. Because if you're saying, okay, I'm going to give you the number one overlooked exercise to build your glutes as a newbie, you know exactly what you're trying to get at, right? You know exactly what you need to say. It's very, very different when you've got that clarity and focus. Okay, cool. This is a super important one. Okay, that's mistake number 2. So far, we've talked about mistake 1, writing these huge, long blocks of text. Mistake 2, no clear through line or crazy not to stay promise. Mistake 3 is having these really long, boring intros. And you can think about, this is not exactly the same because, in webinars, usually you have the time to go a little bit more in depth with people. You have people who are a little more committed. But I just remember, when I first started online, I was listening to like every webinar under the sun. And the most boring thing was just how long the intros were. It was like 5 to 10 minutes talking about their life story. And I'm just like, why is this taking so long? Let me know if you've ever had this experience. But it really should be, when you guys are going live, it should take like a sentence or two to talk through exactly what you need to share about you. And in a second, I'm going to tell you more about how you're going to teach people even more about you and what you do. Because you have when you first start with your script, I'll go up to the script, right? We've got the hook, the crazy not to stay promise, and the authority, which is 1 to 2 lines where you basically tell people who you help, right? And it's like your I help statement. And later, when you're actually teaching the content, there's other places where you can talk about you and results and all this other stuff to teach people more. But really, you just need that 1 to 2 sentences so they know what you do. So it can be something like, this is an example of like a template you can use if you don't know how to keep it short. So you can say something like, if you don't know me, my name is insert name, Alex from Austin, Texas. I help insert demographic. So I help online business owners, coaches, and course creators, whoever your demographic is, to achieve insert result to help them sell their offers with ease and confidence on live video using insert method or program or website. So I could say, through my $9 Video Skills Lab membership, through my new live video series Kickstarter that just launched this week. So, or it could be through my company Unscripted Moment. So this is like super basic though. It's 2 sentences. It takes 20 seconds to say, maybe less, and simple, right? Don't make it super long at first. And so when I said earlier, they're going to learn more about you. You're going to share through your teaching, right? So through the videos that you're doing, you're going to talk about your experiences with clients. You're going to talk about, when you first started learning whatever technique you teach or using whatever product you're using, whatever experiences you've had in your industry, you need to weave that in throughout the teaching. That is way more effective than at the start of the training, trying to just do everything, trying to teach everything about you, because it's not about you, right? It's about the person on the other end who's listening and trying to learn something, and they just don't care, and they will not take away your entire life story. But they're more likely to remember those stories when they're attached to messages that are there to help them. So for example, if I tell you my entire life story and I, throw in about how, bad I was on my first live, that's not nearly as effective as if I, tell you a little bit about me and then go on to teach you about my highly converting video script. And then I tell you about my first time going live and talk to you about some of the things you can expect, right? Based off my experience. That's very different. Do you guys see the difference between those two? You can just give me a yes in the chat. So you can learn a lot from someone from weaving those stories in, right? And I think when you start to actually help and actually start producing those wins and people start to see your honesty and your integrity and how good of a teacher you are and how helpful you are, they're going to be way more inclined to then want to hear those stories from you and want to get to know you on that deeper level, right? So the bottom line, the sooner you get to teaching that content, the better you're going to do. Okay. All right. So that's mistake number 3, having these really long, boring, unfocused intros. I see Kelly saying yes, really long and boring. Okay. Glad I'm not alone in that. All right. The last mistake that I see is not going deep enough into the why behind your claims. So when I say this, it means, if you're saying, let's say I make the claim that your video scripts should be taking you no more than 20 minutes to write every week, which is something I tell my students. I'm like, that's your goal. This whole document that I wrote out, like this prep that I did, it legit takes me like 15 minutes to just put together everything, because I already have in mind what's that crazy not to say promise. I have an idea of what kinds of things I want you guys to take away. And then I just, write it out in this little page. So if I'm telling you that though, that your live should take 20 minutes or less, how do I know that to be true? Like, where am I getting this information from? And a lot of times I see creators talking at people where they are telling them, oh, you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And here's the formula for this, but not explaining how they got there, not explaining what type of person, was getting those results that said, okay, and now it applies to me as well. So questions that you want to be asking yourself as you are writing the actual content, right? It's like, how do I know this is true? How do I know that it should only take you 20 minutes or less, right? And I can think about all of the case studies and all of the stories and all the people I worked with. And when I first started with my lives, how long it was taking, right? And so that goes into like, what evidence do I have? Like, what case studies do I have that I can bring up and share during to help people learn better and to show like this is legit. You want to also think about like what objections your audience has. Like, what are the things that people are going to have? So for example, where people are like, oh, well, I'm naturally not good on camera, or I don't have all the fancy tech that you have, or I didn't go to this, I didn't have this level of education you had. Like, whatever the objections that your audience is going to have, you want to address those when we're thinking about the why. We want to be thinking about like, is there a particular tool or method that can make this happen? So for example, the highly converting video script that I just shared with you guys, right? That's the tool that I am giving to people. Like, if you're just doing this blank page, writing long paragraphs, yeah, it's going to take you more than 20 minutes. But because of this tool and testing it and teaching it so many times, like this is some of the evidence that I'm giving and the deeper why behind this claim of, it should take 20 minutes or less. And now it's more believable and more accessible. But if I was just like, oh, just go ahead and do it, and I didn't show the tool and I didn't address your objections and I didn't have any type of evidence, you'd be like, okay, like this lady's telling me it should take less than 20 minutes, but I don't believe it, right? And there's so many options out there, which leads to this last question where there really are so many choices for people where they could use all these different tools or techniques or AI or whatever. And, you want to explain like why this thing is the thing that they should be using. Okay, cool. So is this making sense to you? And I see Kelly saying strategy or bigger picture is so important. And that is so, so true. So make sure we're going deep enough, because for those of you who struggle to feel like they have enough to say, it's probably because you aren't going deep enough into the why behind your claims, not explain deep enough the rationale behind the things that you are actually teaching. Okay, cool. So I hope that this has been helpful, listening to these four scripting mistakes. Let me know in the comments, like, what was your biggest takeaway? I would love to hear them. I'll read them out. But like I said at the beginning of this video, I just launched an awesome Kickstarter where in just 3 hours, I am going to help you build a winning video series. So what we can do in these 3 hours is we can build a series. I'm going to help you do 3 things across 3 private one-to-one calls. So I'm going to help you, number one, plan out your series, create a path to make sure we're monetizing this series. Session 2, I'm going to help you actually script everything, create the titles for everything. And then session 3, I'm going to help you actually launch it. Usually people launch these live, but not if you don't want to, that's fine. Most people do, but we'll go through actually launching these series and then the evergreen strategy for it, because the series that we come up with should be a series that your audience is watching for years and years to come. So for example, I have got my 10 ways in 10 days video confidence series. It's this set of 10 videos that anyone who comes into my audience, I point them to. And for the last year, I created it last year, it's been selling my membership, my Video Skills Lab membership, without really me having to do much, because people are just being pointed back to the series over and over and over again. So if you've been thinking about writing a series, creating this video series and launching it, and you want to get my help, this is literally the easiest way. We're going to do it in 3 hours together. And it's only right now $197 for 3 private one-to-one hours. This is going to end on the 16th. And then on the 16th, it's going up like $300. So definitely get in on this if you are thinking about it. If you're like, I don't know if I want to write a script, I have a couple of people who are like, I don't want to write a script, but I want to get your help with this process. We can also just literally together plan out your next 4 videos and talk about, again, the strategy behind them, do the scripting for them together, do the actual launching of them, talk about audience growth strategies. So I only have so much time. There's only going to be so many spots. But if you are interested, the link is in the description. And I'm super excited about this. Let me see if we have any questions. I see takeaways, stick to the scripts. Yes, I love it, Kelly. You're awesome. What an awesome deal. Yes, I think this is a freaking awesome deal. This is pretty crazy. Hey, Wendy, do we get templates for everything to put together the plus evergreen process? Yeah, so there's not specific templates but yeah, I guess the answer is yes, because I am going to give you examples of, what you need to do. In terms of evergreening, we go through like what email sequences you need to be sending. We go through like what posts you need to be creating, how you're directing people. So the answer really is yes, I give you all those tools. I guess I just wasn't thinking about a template. So yes. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this session. I hope you got a lot of value. If you got to tune in with me live, you can drop me a #live, or you can drop me a #replay if you watch the replay, and I will see y'all soon.